Matthew. The scroll of the pedigree of Jesus, YHWH is salvation, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham gendered Isaac, and Isaac gendered Jacob, and Jacob gendered Judah and his brothers. Judah gendered Perez and Zerah of Tamar, and Perez gendered Hezron, and Hezron gendered Ram. Ram gendered Amminadab, and Amminadab gendered Nahshon, and Nahshon gendered Salmon. Salmon gendered Boaz of Rahab, and Boaz gendered Obed of Ruth, and Obed gendered Jesse. Jesse gendered David the king, and David the king gendered Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's woman. Solomon gendered Rehoboam, and Rehoboam gendered Abiah, and Abiah gendered Asa. Asa gendered Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat gendered Joram, and Joram gendered Uzziah. Uzziah gendered Jotham, and Jotham gendered Ahaz, and Ahaz gendered Hezekiah. Hezekiah gendered Manasseh, and Manasseh gendered Amon, and Amon gendered Josiah. Josiah gendered Jeconiah and his brothers, at the time of the deportation to Babylon. Then after the deportation to Babylon, Jeconiah gendered Shealtiel, and Shealtiel gendered Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel gendered Abihud, and Abihud gendered Eliakim, and Eliakim gendered Azor. Azor gendered Zadok, and Zadok gendered Ahim, and Ahim gendered Elihud. Elihud gendered Eleazar, and Eleazar gendered Matan, and Matan gendered Jacob. Jacob gendered Joseph the husband of Mary, of whom was regenerated Jesus, who is called Christ, anointed. All the genealogies from Abraham to David are 14 genealogies, and from David to the Babylonian deportation 14 genealogies, and from the Babylonian deportation to Jesus, 14 genealogies. Now the birth of Jesus occurred this way: when his mother Mary was engaged to Joseph, before their coming together, she was recognized to be with child of the sacred Spirit. Then Joseph her husband, being virtuous, and not desiring to make of her a public example, was minded to set her free secretly. But while he thought on these things, behold, YHWH's angel appeared to him in a dream saying, Joseph, son of David, fear not to take to yourself Mary as your woman, because what is in her is generated of the sacred Spirit. And she shall bear a son, and you will call his name Jesus, because he will save his nation from their sins. And all this has come to pass, that it may be fulfilled that was spoken by YHWH through the prophet saying, Behold, the virgin will be with child, and will bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being translated is with us as El. Then Joseph being awakened from sleep did as the angel of YHWH had commanded him, and took to himself his woman. And refrained from sexual relations until she had brought forth a son, and he called his name Jesus. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came Magi from the east to Jerusalem saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star rising, and are come to do homage to him. When Herod the king had heard these things he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the high priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. Then they said to him, In Bethlehem of Judea, because it is written by the prophet, And you Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the chiefs of Judah, because out of you will come a governor that will rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had secretly called the Magi, inquired of them to know accurately what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem saying, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again so that I may come and do homage to him also. After they had heard the king they departed, and behold, the star that they saw rising went before them, until it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and did homage to him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented to him gifts, gold and frankincense, and myrrh. Then being warned of Elohim in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country by another road. And when they had departed, behold, YHWH's angel appeared to Joseph in a dream saying, Arise, and take the young child with his mother and flee into Egypt, and reside there until I bring you word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he got up, he took the young child with his mother by night, and departed into Egypt. And was there until the death of Herod, for that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by YHWH through his prophet saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the Magi, was exceedingly angry. Then he dispatched troops, and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the surrounding regions, from 2 years old and under according to the time that he had diligently inquired of the Magi. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet saying, In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not. But when Herod was dead, behold YHWH's angel appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel, because they are now dead that sought the young child's life. So he got up and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Notwithstanding, being warned of Elohim in a dream, he turned aside into the land of Gilgal. And he came and settled in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by the prophets, he will be called a Nazarene. In those days appeared John the Baptist, heralding in the uninhabited places of Judea and teaching, transform one's mind, because the kingdom of the cosmos draws near. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying in the uninhabited places, make ready the journey for the Lord, make his path straight. This same John had his garment of camel's hair, and a leather girdle about his loins, and his food consisted of locusts and wild honey. Then went out to him those of Jerusalem and all Judea, and all the kingdom around Jordan, and were immersed of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees coming to his immersion, he said to them, O progeny of vipers, who has forewarned you to flee from the anger to come? Bear forth fruits befitting a change of mind, and do not think to say to yourselves, Our father is Abraham, for I say to you that Elohim is able out of these stones to raise children to Abraham. And now also the axe is laid to the root of the tree, therefore every tree that bears not choice fruit is cut down, and cast into the fire. I indeed immerse you with water towards a change of mind, but he that comes after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear, he will immerse you with the fire of the sacred Spirit. Whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly cleanse his threshing floor, and gather his wheat into the storehouse, but he will burn up the stalk of grain with unquenchable fire. Then approached Jesus from Galilee to Jordan unto John, to be immersed of him. But John prevented him, saying, I have need to be immersed of you, and you come to me? Jesus answered, saying to him, Permit it to be so at this time, because in this way it is fitting for us to accomplish all righteousness. Then he permitted him. Then Jesus, when he was immersed, ascended straight up out of the water, and lo, the skies were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of Elohim descending like a dove, and coming upon him. And behold, a voice from the skies saying, This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Then was Jesus taken of the Spirit into the uninhabited places to be tested of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, afterwards he did hunger. Then the tester came to him and said, If you are the Son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man will not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yhwh. Then the devil took him up into the holy city and caused him to stand on the top of the temple, at Jerusalem, and said to him, If you are the Son of Elohim, cast yourself down, because it is written, He will give his angels orders concerning you. In their hands they will bear you up, unless at any time you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus replied to him, It is written again, You will not test the Lord your Elohim. Again, the devil takes him up into an exceedingly high mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the world, and the splendor of them, and said to him, All these things will I give you if you will fall down and do homage to me. Then replied Jesus to him, Withdraw away Satan, because it is written, You will do homage to the Lord your Elohim, and him only will ye serve. Then the devil departed from him, and behold, angels came and attended to him. Now when Jesus had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth he came and settled in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the nations, the people that sat in darkness saw great light. And to them that sat in the region and shadow of death, light is sprung up. From that time Jesus began to herald and to teach, Change one's mind, for the kingdom of the cosmos approaches. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. He said to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they immediately left their nets and followed him. Then going on from there he saw the other two brothers, James the son of Zebedee and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their dad, mending their nets, and he called them. Then they immediately left the ship and their dad and followed him. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and heralding the good news of the kingdom, and healing all types of sickness and all types of disease among the people. And the reports of him spread throughout all Syria, and they brought to him all sick people that were taken with various diseases and acute pains, and those that were possessed with demons, and those that were epileptic, and those that were paralytic, and he healed them. And there followed him great crowds of people from Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, and from Judea, and from beyond Jordan. Then seeing the crowds he went up into a mountain, and when he was seated his disciples came to him, And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the destitute in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of the cosmos. Blessed are they that mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of Elohim. Blessed are they that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of the cosmos. Blessed are you, when people will revile you, and persecute you, and will say all bad things of evil against you and falsehoods for my sake. Rejoice, and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in the cosmos, for so persecuted they the prophets that were before you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how then can it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing except to be cast out, and to be trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a mountain cannot be concealed. Neither do men light a candle, and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it shines light to all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father that is in the cosmos. Do not think that I am come to annul the law, or the prophets. I am not come to annul, but to complete to the full. For of a truth I say to you, until the cosmos and earth perish, not even one iota or one tittle may be omitted from the law, until all things are accomplished. Whoever therefore will break one of these least commandments, and will teach men so, he will be called the least in the kingdom of the cosmos, but whoever will constitute and teach them, the same will be called great in the kingdom of the cosmos. Because I say to you, that except your righteousness will exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter into the kingdom of the cosmos. You have heard that it was said by them in the old times, You will not murder, and whoever will murder will be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother without a cause will be in danger of the judgment. And whoever will say to his brother, You empty-headed man, will be subject to the judges, but whoever will say, You foolish, will be subject to Gehenna fire. Therefore if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave there your gift before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Agree with your enemy quickly, while you are in the way with him, unless at any time the enemy deliver you to the judge, and the judge delivers you to the officer, and you are cast into prison. Of a truth I say to you that you will by no means come out from there until you have paid the last cent. You have heard that it was said by them in the old times, You will not commit adultery, but I say to you, that whoever looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if your right eye offends you, pluck it out and cast it from you, for it is profitable for you that one of your bodily parts should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into Gehenna fire. And if your right hand offends you, cut it off, and cast it from you, for it is profitable for you that one of your bodily parts should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into Gehenna fire. It has been said, Whoever will put away his woman, let him give her a writing of divorcement, that is libel or repudio. But I say to you, that whoever will put away his woman, give her a writing of divorcement, but regarding adultery the one that commits it is the one who takes her in adultery. Again, you heard that it was said to the ancients, You will not take false oaths, but you will pay to the Lord your oaths. But I say to you, do not make any oaths vainly by anything, neither by the cosmos, for it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither will you make an oath by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your communication be, Yes, yes, no, no, for whatever is more than these comes of bad. You have heard that it has been said, An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, that you resist not wrong, but whoever will hit you on your right cheek, turn to him the left. And if anyone will sue you at the law, and take away your tunic, let him have your coat also. And whoever will compel you to go a mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to him that asks you, and from him that would borrow from you turn not yourself away. You have heard that it has been said, You will love your neighbor, and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that insult you, and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father that is in the cosmos, for he makes his light of the day to rise on the bad and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. Because if you love them that love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans do the same? And if you salute your brothers only, what are you accomplishing more than others? Do not even the publicans do the same? Become ye therefore perfect, even as your Father that is in the cosmos is perfect. Take heed not to do your kindness before men, to be seen by them, otherwise you have no reward from your Father that is in the cosmos. Therefore when you do your kindness, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Of a truth I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do kindness, let not your left hand know what your right hand does, that your kindness may be in secret, and your Father that sees in secret himself will reward you openly. And when you pray, you will not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Of a truth I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father that is in secret, and your Father that sees in secret will reward you openly. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions as the foreigners do, for they think that they will be heard for their much speaking. Be not like they are, for your Father knows what things you have need of, before you ask him. But after this manner therefore offer prayers, Our Father in the cosmos, consecrated be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done in earth, as it is in the cosmos. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into trial, but rescue us from hardships. Amen, because if you forgive men their trespasses, your cosmic Father will also forgive you, but if you forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. Moreover when you fast, be not as the hypocrites are, of a gloomy countenance, for they disfigure their faces that they may appear to men to fast. Of a truth I say to you, they have already obtained their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that you appear not to men to fast, but to your Father that is in secret, and your Father, that sees in secret, will reward you openly. Lay not up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust does corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in the cosmos, where neither moth nor rust does corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Because where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The light of the body is the eye, if therefore your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one, and love the other, or else he will hold to the one, and despise the other. You cannot serve alone and riches. Therefore I say to you, take no thought for your life, what you will eat, or what you will drink, nor yet for your body, what you will put on. Is not the life more than food, and the body than clothing? Consider the flying creatures of the sky, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into storehouses, yet your cosmic Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they are? And who of you, being anxious, is able to add to his age 1 cubit? Why take ye thoughts for clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, they toil not, neither do they spin, yet I say to you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Therefore, if Elohim so clothes the grass of the field, that today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore take no thought saying, what will we eat? Or, what will we drink? Or, by what means will we be clothed? For all these things do the nations seek after, but your cosmic Father does know that you have need of all these. Rather seek you first the kingdom of Elohim, and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Therefore take no thought for the next day, for it will take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the present day is the depravity thereof. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged, and with what measure you measure, it will be measured to you again. And why discern you the twig that is in your brother's eye, but consider not the beam that is in your own eye? Or how will you say to your brother, let me pull the twig out of your eye, and lo, a beam is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to cast out the twig from your brother's eye. Give not what is holy to the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, unless they trample them under their feet, and turn again and break out on you. Ask, and it will be given you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone that asks receives, and he that seeks finds, and to him that knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there of you, whom if his son asks bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will he give him a snake? If you then being bad, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father that is in the cosmos give good things to them that ask him? Therefore all things whatever you would that men should do to you, do you even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter you in at the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road, that leads to destruction, and many there are that go in by that way, because narrow is the gate, and compressed is the way, that leads unto life, and few there are that come upon it. But take heed of the false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, and inwardly are ravening wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth bad fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit, Neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is cut down and cast into the fire. So then, by their fruits you will know them. Not everyone that says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of the cosmos, but he that does the will of my Father that is in the cosmos. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have cast out demons? And in your name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess to them, I never knew you, depart from me, you that work lawlessness. Therefore whoever hears these sayings of mine, and does them, I will liken him to a wise man, that built his house upon a rock, and the rain descended and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it did not fall because it was founded upon a rock. Petra. And everyone that hears these sayings of mine, and does not do them, will be likened to a foolish man that built his house upon the sand, and the rain descended and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine, because he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. When he was come down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. And behold, there came a leper and did homage to him, saying, Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. Then Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be you clean. And instantly his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, See that you tell no man, but go your way and show yourself to the priest, and bring the offering that Moses commanded from your law. Later when Jesus had entered into Capernaum, there came to him a centurion, entreating him and saying, Lord, my servant lies at home sick of the palsy, terribly distressed. Jesus replied to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come by my house, but speak the word only and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my servant, Do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, Of a truth I say to you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say to you, that many will come from the east and west, and will sit down with Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob, in the kingdom of the cosmos. But the children of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Jesus said to the centurion, Go your way, and as you have believed, so be it done to you. And his servant was healed in that hour. And when Jesus had come into Peter's house, he saw his woman's mother cast down and sick with a fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and attended to them. When the nightfall had come, they brought to him many that were under the power of a demon, and he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were miserable, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities, and bore our sicknesses. Now when Jesus saw large crowds around him, he gave orders to depart to the other side. And a certain scribe came and said to him, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus replied to him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the sky places of rest, but the Son of Man is nowhere he may lay his head. And one of his disciples said to him, Lord, give me leave first to go and bury my dad. But Jesus replied to him, Follow me, and let the spiritually dead bury their dead. Later when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great storm in the sea, so that the ship was being covered with the waves, but he was asleep. Then his disciples came and awoke him, saying, Lord, rescue us, we are perishing. He replied to them, Why are you fearful, O you of little faith? Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calmness. And the men wondered, saying, What kind of person is this, that even the wind and the sea do obey him? After he had come to the other side into the region of the Gergesenes, there met him two under the power of demons, coming out of the tombs, exceedingly savage, so that no man might pass by that road. And lo, they cried out, saying, What have we to do with you, Jesus, son of Elohim? Are you coming here to torment us before the fixed time? And there was a good ways off from them a herd of many swine feeding. So the demons begged him, saying, If you cast us out, then transfer us to depart into that herd of swine. And he replied to them, Go. And when they were departed, they went into the herd of swine, and look, the whole herd of swine rushed down a precipice into the sea, and died violently in the waters. Then those feeding did flee, and having gone to the city, they reported everything, including the matter of the demoniac. Then the whole city came out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they begged him that he would depart out of their region. And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. Then they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed, and Jesus, seeing their faith, said to the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, your sins are departed you. But some of the scribes said within themselves, This man blasphemes. And Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, How come are you thinking bad in your hearts? What is easier to say, Your sins are departed you, or to say, Arise, and walk? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to send away sins, then he says to the sick of the palsy, Arise, take up your bed, and go to your house. Then he got up and departed to his house. But when the crowd saw it, they wondered, and glorified alone that had given such power to men. And Jesus, passing by there, saw a man sitting at the tax office, named Matthew, and said to him, Be following me, and he, having got up, did follow him. And it came about that as Jesus sat to dine in the house, lo, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said to his disciples, Why does your teacher eat with publicans and sinners? But when Jesus heard that, he replied to them, They that are healthy need not a physician, but they that are sick. But you go now and learn what that means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, because I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to a change of mind, repentance. Then came to him the disciples of John, saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast? Jesus replied to them, Can the children of the bridal chamber mourn, as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come, when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and then they will fast. No man puts a piece of new cloth to an old garment, because what is put in to fill it up will pull away from the garment, and the tear is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, otherwise the bottles break, and the wine runs out, and the bottles are ruined, but they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. While he spoke these things to them, there came a certain ruler, and did homage to him, saying, My daughter just now died, but come and lay your hand upon her, and she will live. Jesus got up and followed him, and so did his disciples. And behold, a woman that was diseased with an issue of blood for 12 years came behind him, and touched the hem of his garment, because she thought within herself, If I may but touch his garment, I will be healed. But Jesus turned around, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort, your faith has made you restored. And the woman was healed from that hour. Then when Jesus came into the ruler's house, and saw the flute player and the people wailing, he said to them, Withdraw, because the girl is not dead but sleeps. And they derided him to scorn. But when the people were sent home, he went in and took her by the hand, and the girl got up. And the report of this went abroad into all that region. After Jesus left from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying and saying, You Son of David, have mercy on us. And when he had come into the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, Do you believe that I am able to do this? They replied to him, Yes, Lord. Then he touched their eyes, saying, According to your faith be it unto you. Then their eyes were opened, and Jesus sternly charged them, saying, See that no man knows about this. But they, when they were gone, spread abroad his fame in all that region. As they went out, lo, they brought to him a dumb man under the power of a demon. And when the demon was cast out, the dumb spoke, and the crowds wondered, saying, It was never so seen in Israel. But the Pharisees said, He casts out evil spirits through the prince of the demons. Then Jesus went around all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the crowds, he was moved with compassion on them, because they were imperfect and were cast out as sheep having no shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, The harvest truly is large, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest will send out laborers into his harvest. And when he had called to him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, and to heal all types of sickness and all types of disease. Now, the 12 apostles' names are these: first Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, Philip, and Bartholomew, Thomas, and Matthew, the tax collector, James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon, the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who also delivered him up. These 12 Jesus dismissed and ordered them, saying, Do not journey to the Gentiles and any cities of the Samaritans you are not to enter, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, herald to them, saying, The kingdom of the cosmos approaches. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the deceased, cast out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Acquire neither gold, silver, or brass in your girdle, nor a wallet for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet a staff, because the workman is befitting of his food. And into whatever city or town you will enter, inquire who in it is suitable, and there abide until you leave. And when you come into a house, greet it. And if the house is suitable, let your peace come upon it, but if it be not suitable, let your peace return to you. And whoever will not receive you, nor hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust from your feet. Of a truth I say to you, It will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment, than for that city. See, I dismiss you as sheep among the wolves, be you therefore wise as a snake, and innocent as doves. But be attentive of men, for they will deliver you up to the judges, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And you will be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you will speak, for it will be given you in that same hour what you will speak. Because it is not you that speaks, but the Spirit of your Father that speaks in you. And the brother will deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children will rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. You will be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that remains to the end will be rescued. But when they persecute you in this city, flee you into another, for of a truth I say to you, you will not have gone over the cities of Israel, until the Son of Man appears. The disciple is not above his teacher, nor the slave above his master. It is sufficient to the disciple that he may be as his teacher, and the slave as his master. If the master of the house they did call Beelzebub, how much more those of his household? You may not therefore fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. What I teach you in darkness that speak you in light, and what you hear in the ear that herald you upon the housetops. And fear not them that kill the body, but are not able to kill the life, but rather fear him that is able to destroy both the life and body in Gehenna. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a cent? And one of them will not fall on the ground apart from your Father's will. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. Whoever therefore will confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father that is in the cosmos. But whoever will deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in the cosmos. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth, I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his dad, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes will be they of his own household. He that loves dad or mom more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that takes not his stake, and follows after me, is not worthy of me. He that comes upon his life will render it useless, and he that destroys his life for my sake will find it. He that receives you, receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. He that receives a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and he that receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever will give to drink to one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, of a truth I say to you, he will never destroy his reward. After Jesus had made an end of appointing his 12 disciples, he departed from there to teach and to herald in their cities. Now when John had heard in the prison the works of Jesus, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to him, Are you he that should come, or do we look for another? Jesus answered and said to them, Go and show John again those things that you do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, the deceased are raised up, and the poor have the good news heralded to them. And blessed is he whoever will not be offended in me. And as they departed, Jesus began to teach the crowds concerning John, What did you go out into the uninhabited places to see? A reed shaken with the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft garments? Look, they that wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet. Because this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before your face that will prepare your journey before you. Of a truth I say to you, among them that are gendered of women there has not arisen a greater than John the Baptist. Moreover, he that is least in the kingdom of the cosmos is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now the kingdom of the cosmos uses force, and the strong take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you are willing to accept it, he is Elijah, the one destined to come. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. And to what will I liken this generation? It is like little children in the marketplaces, sitting and calling to their comrades and saying, We have played on the flute to you, and you have not danced, we sang dirges to you, and you have not beat your breast for grief. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has an evil spirit. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold a man gluttonous, and a wino, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom, Sophia, is justified of her children. Then he began to upbraid the cities where most of his mighty works were done, because they did not change their minds. Woe unto you, Chorazin! Woe unto you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works that were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have changed their minds long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I say to you, it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment, than for you. And you, Capernaum, that are exalted to the skies, shall be brought down to Hades, for if the mighty works that have been done in you, had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. But I say to you that it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment, than for you. At that time Jesus answered and said, I thank you, O Father, Lord of the cosmos and earth, because you have hidden these things from the skilled and wise, and have disclosed them to the unskilled. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in your sight. All things are delivered to me from my Father, and no man knows the Son, but the Father, neither knows anyone the Father, except the Son, and he to whomever the Son will reveal him. Come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest unto your lives. Because my yoke is fit for use, and my burden is light in weight. At that time Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the growing crops, and his disciples were hungry, and began to pluck off the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, Look, your disciples do what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day. But he replied to them, Have you not read what David did, when he was hungry, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of Elohim and did eat the consecrated loaves, that were not lawful for him to eat, neither for them that were with him, but only for the priests? Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the sacred place desecrate the Sabbath, and are guiltless? But I say to you, that in this place is one greater than the sacred place. And if you had known what is, kindness I will, and not sacrifice, you would have not condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. And when he was departed from there, he went into their synagogue. Now there was a man that had his hand withered, and they asked him saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? So that they might accuse him. He replied to them, What man will there be among you, that will have one sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Therefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Then he said to the man, Stretch out your hand. And he stretched it out, and it was restored whole like as the other one. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him. But when Jesus learned of it, he withdrew himself from there, and large crowds followed him, and he healed them all, and charged them that they should not make him known, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Behold my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my life is well pleased, I will put my spirit upon him, and he will show judgment to the Gentiles. He will not strive, nor cry out, neither will anyone hear his voice in the streets. A broken reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not extinguish until he sends forth judgment unto victory. And in his name will the Gentiles have hope. Then was brought to him one under the power of a demon, blind, and dumb, and he healed him, so that the blind and dumb both spoke and gazed. And all the people were amazed and said, Is not this the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow does not cast out evil spirits, but by Beelzebub the prince of the evil spirits. And Jesus knew their thoughts and replied to them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand, and if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself, how then will his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out evil spirits, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they will be your judges. But if I cast out evil spirits by the Spirit of Elohim, then the kingdom of Elohim has come to you. Or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man? And then he will spoil his house. He that does not unite with me denies me, and he that gathers not with me scatters. Therefore I say to you, all types of sin and blasphemy will be forgiven unto human beings, but the blasphemy against the sacred Spirit will not be forgiven unto human beings. And whoever speaks a word against the Son of Man, it will be forgiven him, but whoever speaks against the sacred Spirit, it will not be forgiven him, neither in this age, neither in the ages to come. Either make the tree good, and its fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt, and its fruit corrupt, because the tree is known by its fruit. O offspring of vipers, how can you, being bad, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth utters. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart brings forth good things, and a bad man out of the evil treasure sends out violence. But I say to you, that every idle word that men will speak, they will give account of it in the day of judgment. Because by your words you will be rendered righteous, and by your words you will be condemned. Then some of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. But he answered and said to them, A bad and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there will be no sign given to it, except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the ground. The men of Nineveh will rise in judgment with this generation, and will condemn it, because they changed their minds at the heralding of Jonah, and behold, a greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south will rise up in the judgment with this generation, and will condemn it, for she came from the remotest lands of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. When the unclean spirit has gone from a man, he walks through arid places seeking rest and finds none. Then he says, I will return into my house from where I came out, and when he has come, he finds it empty, swept, and put in order. Then he goes, and takes with himself 7 other spirits more evil than himself, and they enter in and inhabit there, and the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so will it also be for this bad generation. While he still talked to the people, look, his mother and his brothers stood outside, desiring to speak with him. Then one said to him, Look, your mother and your brothers stand outside, desiring to speak with you. But he answered and said to him that told him, Who is my mother? And who are my brothers? And he stretched out his hand towards his disciples and said, See, my mother and my brothers. For whoever shall do the will of my Father that is in the cosmos, the same is my brother, sister, and mother. The same day Jesus went out of the house and sat by the seaside. And large crowds were gathered together to him, so that he went into a ship and sat, and the whole crowd stood on the shore. And he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, See, a sower went out to sow, and when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the birds of the sky came and devoured them up. Moreover some fell on stony places, where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprung up, because they had no depth of soil, and when the sun was up they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. Still others fell on the good soil, and were giving fruit, some indeed 100-fold, and some 60, and some 30. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said to him, Why do you speak to them in parables? He answered and replied to them, Because it is given to you to know the hidden thing, Urim Thummim, of the kingdom of the cosmos, but to them it is not given. For whoever has, to him will be given and he will have more abundance, but whoever has not, from him will be taken away, even what he had. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah that taught, By hearing you will hear, and will not understand, and seeing you will see, and will not perceive, for this people's heart is made fat, and their ears are difficult of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. Unless at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should perceive with their heart, and should be turned to Elohim, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For of a truth I say to you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things that you see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things that you hear, and have not heard them. So now hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom, and understands it not, then come the hardships, and forces away what was sown in his heart. This is he that received seed by the traveled way. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that hears the word, and immediately with joy receives it, yet he is not root in himself, but enduring for a while, for when pressure or persecution happen because of the word, immediately he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that hears the word, and the anxiety of this age, and the deceitfulness of wealth, choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he that receives seed into the good soil is he that hears the word, and understands it, that also bears fruit and produces, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, The kingdom of the cosmos is compared to a man that sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed darnel, black grains, among the wheat, and then departed. But when the crops were sprouted and producing fruit, then appeared the darnel also. So the slaves of the master came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then has it darnel? He replied to them, An enemy has done this. The slaves said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he replied, No, unless while you gather up the darnel, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather up first the darnel and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my storehouse. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, The kingdom of the cosmos is like a grain of mustard seed, that a man took and sowed in his field. That is truly the smallest of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the larger among herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the sky come and lodge in its branches. Another parable he spoke to them. The kingdom of the cosmos is similar to leaven that a woman took, and concealed in 3 measures of meal, until the whole was leavened. All these things spoke Jesus to the crowds in parables, and apart from a parable he did not speak to them, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things that have been kept secret from the founding of the cosmos. Then Jesus sent the crowds away, and went into the house, and his disciples came to him saying, Declare to us the parable of the darnel of the field. He answered and said to them, He that sows the good seed is the Son of Man, the field is the cosmos, the good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the darnel are the children of the bad. The enemy that sowed them is the slanderer, the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the darnel are gathered and burned in the fire, so will it be in the end of this age. The Son of Man will dispatch his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom every one that is snared, and them that produce lawlessness, and will cast them into a furnace of fire, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then will the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who has the ears to hear, let him hear. Again, the kingdom of the cosmos is similar to treasure hid in a field, that when a man has found it, he conceals, and for joy goes and sells all that he has, and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of the cosmos is similar to a merchant seeking excellent pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had, and bought it. Again, the kingdom of the cosmos is similar to a net, that was cast into the sea, and drew together every sort, that when it was full, they drew it to shore and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad without. So will it be at the end of the age, the angels will come forth, and separate the bad from the righteous, and will cast them into the furnace of fire, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Jesus said to them, Have you understood all these things? They replied to him, Yes, Lord. Then he said to them, Therefore every scribe that is instructed for the kingdom of the cosmos is similar to a man that is a homeowner, that brings forth out of his storehouse things new and old. And it came to pass, when Jesus finished these parables, he left the area. And when he had come into his own hometown, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and were saying, Where did he get this wisdom and the works of power? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brothers, James, and Joses, and Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then has this man acquired all these things? And they were offended in him. But Jesus said to them, A prophet is not without honor, except in his own native land and in his own home. And he did not many works of power there because of their unbelief. At that time Herod the governor heard of the heralding of Jesus. He said to his slaves, This is John the Baptist, he did rise from the dead, and because of this the mighty energies are working in him. Because Herod, having laid hold on John, did bind him and did put him in prison, because of Herodias his brother Philip's woman. For John had said to him, It is not lawful for you to have her as a wife. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the crowds, because they held him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereby he promised with an oath to give her whatever she would ask. And she, instigated by her mother, said, Give me here the head of John the Baptist in a charger. And the king was sorry, nevertheless because of the oath that had been pledged, and them that sat with him at the feast, he commanded it to be given to her. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger, and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body, and buried it, and went and told Jesus. And Jesus, having heard, withdrew from there in a ship to an uninhabited place by himself, and the crowds having heard did follow him on land from the cities. And Jesus went out and saw a large crowd, and was moved with compassion towards them, and he healed their sick. And when it was sunset, his disciples came to him saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy themselves food. But Jesus replied to them, They need not leave, you give them to eat. And they said to him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. He replied, Bring them here to me. And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves, and the 2 fish, and looking up to the cosmos he blessed and broke, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples, to the crowds. And they all did eat and were filled, and they took up of the remnants that remained 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were counted 5,000 men, besides women and children. And immediately Jesus compelled his disciples to get into a ship, and to go ahead of him to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. And when he had sent the crowds away, he went up into a mountain by himself to pray, and when the sunset had come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the middle of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was against them. And in the 4th watch of the night Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is an apparition. And they were terrorized. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, bid me come to you on the water. He replied, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind become boisterous, he became afraid, and beginning to sink, and he cried saying, Lord, rescue me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, O you of little faith, why is it you doubted? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth you are the Son of Elohim. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that district had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that surrounding region, bringing to him all that were diseased, and begged him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees that were from Jerusalem, saying, Why do your disciples violate the ritual of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said to them, Why do you also violate the commandment of Elohim by your ritual? Because Elohim commanded, saying, Honor your father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him come to an end by death. But you say, Whoever will say to his father or his mother, That by which you might have had profit from me is given to Elohim. And he may not honor his father or his mother, and you did set aside the command of Elohim because of your tradition. You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, Thus YHWH says, This people draw close to me with their mouth, and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. And he called the crowds and said to them, Hear and understand, not what goes into the mouth defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth is what makes the human being unclean. Then came his disciples and said to him, Do you know that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered, saying, Every plant that my cosmic Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone, they are blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into the ditch. Then answered Peter and said to him, Declare to us this parable. Jesus replied, Are you also still without understanding? Do you not understand that all that is going into the mouth does pass into the belly, and into the toilet is cast out? But those things that proceed out of the mouth come out from the heart, and they defile the man. Because out of the heart proceed bad thoughts, murders, adulteries, pornography, thefts, false witness, slander, these are the things that defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defiles not a man. Then Jesus left from there and departed to the coasts of Tyre and Sidon. And lo, a Canaanite woman came out of the same coasts, and shouted to him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, my daughter is miserably under the power of a demon. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples approached and questioned him, saying, Dismiss her now, for she cries after us. He answered and said, I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then she came and prostrated before him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not suitable to take the children's bread, and to cast it to a little dog. And she replied, Truth, Lord, still the little dog eats from the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith, be it unto you even as you desire. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Then Jesus departed from there and went along by the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And large crowds came to him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, disabled, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Therefore the crowd wondered, when they saw the dumb to speak, the disabled to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified the Elohim of Israel. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion on the crowd, because they continue with me now these 3 days, and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away not having eaten, or else they will faint in the road. His disciples said to him, How should we have so much food in the uninhabited place, as to feed so large a crowd? Jesus replied to them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7 and a few little fish. Then he ordered the crowd to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fish and gave thanks and broke them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the crowd. And they all did eat and were filled, and they took up of the broken pieces that were left, making 7 baskets full. They that did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. Then he sent away the crowd, and boarded the ship and came into the coasts of Magdala. And the Pharisees and Sadducees having come, testing, did question him, to show to them a sign from the cosmos. He answered and said to them, When it is sunset you say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And at sunrise, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and covered with clouds. O you hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but the signs of the times you are not able. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there will no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. And when his disciples were come to the other side, They had neglected to take food. Then Jesus said to them, "Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees." And they reasoned among themselves, saying, "It is because we have taken no food." But when Jesus perceived, he said to them, "O you of little faith, why reason you among yourselves, because you have brought no food? Do you not yet understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets you took up? Or the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets you took up? How do you not understand that I did not speak to you of bread, to take heed of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees?" Then they understood how he spoke not to beware of the leaven of food, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say me to be, the Son of Man?" And they replied, "Some say that you are John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others, Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" And Simon Peter answered and said, "You are Jesus, the Son of the living alone." And Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it to you, but my Father that is in the cosmos. And I say also to you, that you are Peter, and upon this rock, Petra, I will build my ecclesia, and the gates of Hades, the grave, will not prevail against it. And I will give to you the opening instrument, Urim Thummim, of the kingdom of the cosmos, and whatever you will bind on earth will be bound in the cosmos, and whatever you will loose on earth will be loosed in the cosmos." Then he charged his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ, anointed. From that time on Jesus began to show to his disciples how that he must go to Jerusalem, and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and then resurrected again the 3rd day. Then Peter took him and began to charge him sharply, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this will never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get you behind me, adversary, you are a snare to me, because you understand not the things that are of alone, but those that are of men." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his stake and follow me. For whoever will save his life will lose it, and whoever will lose his life for my sake will find it. For what is a man profited, if he will gain the whole world and lose his own life? Or what will a man give in exchange for his life? Because the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will pay off everyone according to their transactions. Of a truth I say to you, there will be some standing here that will not taste of death, until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." And after 6 days Jesus takes Peter, James, and John his brother, and brings them up into a high mountain by themselves. Then he was transformed before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his clothing was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Then answered Peter and said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you desire, let us make here 3 tents, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he still spoke, behold, a bright cloud mass overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud mass that said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased, hear him." And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were exceedingly terrified. And Jesus came and touched them and said, "Get up, and be not terrified." And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man except Jesus only. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, "Tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man is resurrected up again from the dead." And his disciples asked him, saying, "Why then say the scribes that Elijah must first come?" And Jesus answered and said to them, "Elijah certainly will first come and restore all things. But I say to you, that Elijah has come already and they knew him not, but have done to him whatever they determined. Likewise will also the Son of Man suffer of them." Then the disciples understood that he spoke to them of John the Baptist. And when they were come to the crowds, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him and saying, "Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is epileptic and miserably affected, for frequently he falls into the fire, and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples and they could not heal him." Then Jesus answered and said, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long will I be with you? How long will I sustain you? Bring him here to me." Then Jesus rebuked the demon, and it departed out of him, and the child was healed from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus separately and asked, "Why could we not cast him out?" Jesus replied to them, "Because of your unbelief, for of a truth I say to you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard, you will say to this mountain, remove from this place to that place, and it will remove, and nothing will be impossible for you. Moreover, this kind goes not out except by prayer and fasting." And while they were living in Galilee, Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man will be betrayed into the hands of men, and they will kill him, and on the 3rd day he will be resurrected again." And they were exceedingly grieved. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, Does not your master pay tribute? He replied, Yes, and when he had come into the house, Jesus anticipated him saying, What do you think, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of foreigners? Peter replied to him, Of foreigners. Jesus said to him, Then are the children freeborn. Moreover, unless we should offend them, go now to the sea, and cast a hook, and take up the fish that first comes up, and when you have opened its mouth, you will find a piece of money. Take that, and give to them for me and you. At the same time the disciples came to Jesus saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of the cosmos? Then Jesus called a little child to him, and set him in the middle of them, and said, Of a truth I say to you, except you be converted and become as little children, you will not enter into the kingdom of the cosmos. Whoever therefore will humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of the cosmos. And he who may receive one such child in my name, does receive me. But whoever will offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is expedient for him that a millstone be hanged about his neck, and that he is plunged into the depth of the sea. Woe to the world from the stumbling blocks! Because there is a necessity for the stumbling blocks to come, but woe to that man through whom the stumbling block does come. Therefore if your hand or your foot is a stumbling block to you, cut them off, and cast them from you. It is eminent for you to enter into life maimed or disabled, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into age-lasting fire. And if your eye offends you, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into Gehenna fire. Beware that you do not think little of these younger ones, because I say to you, that in the cosmos their angels do always behold the face of my Father that is in the cosmos. For the Son of Man has come to save what was lost. What do you think? If a man may have 100 sheep, and there may go astray one of them, does he not, having left the 99, go to the mountains and seek what has gone astray? And if so be that he comes upon it, of a truth I say to you, he rejoices more of that sheep than of the 99 that did not go astray. Even so it is not the will of your Father, that is in the cosmos, that one of these little ones should perish. Moreover if your brother will err against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he will hear you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear you, then take with you 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he will neglect to hear them, tell it to the ecclesia, but if he neglects to hear the ecclesia, let him be to you as a foreigner and a tax collector. Of a truth I say to you, whatever you will bind on earth will be bound in the cosmos, and whatever you will loose on earth will be loosed in the cosmos. Again I say to you, that if 2 of you will agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it will be done for them of my Father that is in the cosmos. Because where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the middle of them. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? Jesus said to him, I say not to you, until 7 times but until 70 by 7. Therefore is the kingdom of the cosmos compared to a certain king, that wanted to settle accounts with his slaves. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought to him that owed him 10,000 talents, millions of dollars. And he having nothing to pay, his master did command him to be sold, his woman, and the children and all whatever he had, and payment to be made. The slave therefore fell down and prostrated before him saying, Master, have patience with me and I will pay you all. Then the master of that slave was moved with compassion and set him free, and forgave him the debt. But the same slave went out and found one of his fellow slaves that owed him 100 denarius, a small amount, and he laid hands on him and took him by the throat saying, Pay me what you owe. And his fellow slave fell down at his feet and besought him saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay you all. But he would not, but went and cast him into prison until he should pay the debt. So when his fellow slaves saw what was done, they were very sorry and came and reported to their master all that was done. Then his master, after he had called him, said to him, O you bad slave, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow slave, even as I had pity on you? And his master was angry and delivered him to the jailer, until he should pay all that was due to him. So likewise will my cosmic Father do also to you, if you from your hearts do not forgive everyone his brother for their misdeeds. And it came about, that when Jesus had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coasts of Judea beyond Jordan, and large crowds followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came to him, testing him and saying to him, Is it lawful for a man to divorce his woman for every cause? He answered and said to them, Have you not read that he that made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause will a man leave father and mother, and will unite to his woman, and they two will be one flesh? Therefore they are no more 2, but one flesh. What accordingly Elohim has joined together let not man divide. They replied to him, Why then did Moses command to give a writing of a bill of divorce and to put her away? He said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to divorce your women, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whoever will divorce his woman, except it be for illicit sexual intercourse, porneia, and will marry another commits adultery, and whoever marries her that is divorced does commit adultery also. His disciples replied to him, If the case of the man is so with his woman, it is not good to marry. But he replied to them, All men cannot receive this saying, except they to whom it is given. Because there are some eunuchs that were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs that were castrated eunuchs by men, and there are eunuchs that have castrated themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of the cosmos. He that is able to proceed, let him proceed. Then were there brought to him little children, that he should put his hands on them, and pray, and the disciples rebuked them. But Jesus said, Send forth little children and forbid them not to come to me, for of such is the kingdom of the cosmos. And having laid his hands on them he departed from there. And one came and said to him, Good teacher, what useful thing will I do, that I may have age-lasting life? He replied to him, Why call me useful? There is none useful but one, that is, Elohim. But if you will enter into life, observe the commandments. He replied to him, Which? Jesus said, You will do no murder, you will not commit adultery, you will not steal, you will not give false testimony, honor your father and your mother, and you will dearly love, agapao, your neighbor as yourself. The young man replied to him, All these things have I observed from my youth up, what lack I still? Jesus said to him, If you are resolved to become perfect, go and sell what you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in the cosmos, and come and follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Then Jesus said to his disciples, Of a truth I say to you, a rich man will with difficulty enter into the kingdom of the cosmos. And again I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Elohim. When his disciples heard this, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Jesus looked on them and replied, With men this is impossible, but with Elohim all things are possible. Then Peter answered and said to him, Look, we have forsaken all and followed you. What will we have therefore? Jesus replied to them, Of a truth I say to you, that you that have followed me, in the resurrection when the Son of Man will sit in the throne of his glory, you also will sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that has neglected the family, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or woman, or children, or lands, for my name's account, will receive 100 times as much, and will inherit age-lasting life. But many will be first last, and last first. Because the kingdom of the cosmos is similar to a man that is a master of the house that went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a denarius, a small amount, a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the 3rd hour, and saw others standing at leisure in the marketplace, then said to them, Go yourselves also to the vineyard, and whatever is right I will give you. And they went their way. Again he went out about the 6th and the 9th hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle, and said to them, Why are you here all day at leisure? They replied to him, Because no man has hired us. He said to them, Go yourselves also into the vineyard, and whatever is right, that you will receive. So when sunset came, the master of the vineyard said to his steward, Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning from the last to the first. And when they came that were hired around the 11th hour, they received everyone a denarius. But when the first came, they thought it was customary that they should have received more, and they also received everyone a denarius. And when they had received it they complained against the master of the house, saying, These last ones have produced only 1 hour of work, and you have made them equal to us that have carried most of the burden and heat of the day. But he answered one of them and said, Friend, I do you no wrong, did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what is yours and go your way, I will give to this last, even as unto you. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own? Is your eye bad, because I am good? So the last will be first, and the first last, for many are called, but few are the elect. And Jesus going up to Jerusalem took the 12 disciples by themselves in the road and said to them, Look, we go up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to custody of the chief priests and to the scribes, and they will condemn him by their judgment to death. And will deliver him to the Gentiles to mock, and to scourge, and to be crucified, staked, and on the 3rd day he will rise again. Then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, doing homage to him, and requesting a certain thing from him. And he said to her, What do you desire? She replied to him, Grant that these my 2 sons may sit, the one on your right hand, and the other on the left, in your kingdom. But Jesus answered and said, You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink of the cup that I will drink of, and to be baptized, cleansed, with the baptism, cleansing, that I am to be baptized, cleansed, with? They replied to him, We are able. He replied to them, You will drink indeed of my cup and be baptized, cleansed, with the baptism, cleansing, that I am to be baptized, cleansed, with. But to sit on my right hand, on my left, is not mine to give, but it will be given to them for whom it is prepared of my Father. And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation against the 2 brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, You know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it will not be so among you, but whoever will be great among you, let him be your servant, and whoever will be chief among you, let him be your slave, even as the Son of Man did not come to be served but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And as they departed from Jericho, a large crowd followed him. Later, 2 blind men sitting by the roadside, when they heard that Jesus passed by, cried out saying, Have mercy on us, O Lord, you Son of David. And the crowd charged them that they should be silent, but they cried out the more saying, Deal kindly with us, Sir, Son of David. And Jesus stood still, called them and asked, What would you like me to do for you? They replied to him, Lord, that our eyes may be opened. So Jesus had compassion on them, and touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. And when they drew near to Jerusalem and were come to Bethphage, to the Mount of Olives, then sent Jesus 2 disciples, instructing them, Go into the village before you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied, and a colt with her, loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything to you, tell them, The Lord has need of them, and immediately they will dismiss them. All this was done, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by the prophet saying, Tell the daughter of Zion, Behold, your king comes to you, meek, and sitting upon a donkey, and a colt the male offspring of a donkey. Then the disciples went and did as Jesus commanded them, and brought the donkey and the colt, and put on them their clothes, and they set him upon them. And a very large crowd spread their garments in the road, others cut down branches from the trees and spread them in the roadway. And the crowds that went before and that followed cried saying, Hosanna, save, to the Son of David, blessed is he that comes in the name of YHWH, Hosanna, saved, by the Most High Elohim. And when he had come into Jerusalem, all the city was in an uproar saying, Who is this? Then the crowd said, This is Jesus the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. And Jesus went into the temple of YHWH and cast out all them that sold and bought in the sacred place, and overthrew the tables of the bankers and the seats of them that bartered doves. And said to them, It is written, My house will be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And the blind and the lame came to him in the sacred place, and he healed them. And when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful deeds that he did, and the children crying in the temple and saying, Hosanna, save, to the Son of David, they were very displeased, and said to him, Do you hear what these say? And Jesus replied to them, Yes, have ye never read, Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings you have rendered praise. And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now at sunrise as he returned into the city, he was hungry. So when he saw a fig tree in the road, he came to it and found nothing on it, but leaves only, and said to it, Let no fruit grow on you any longer for the ages. And immediately the fig tree dried up. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, pointing out, How instantly is the fig tree dried up? Jesus answering said to them, Of a truth I say to you, if you may have faith, and may not doubt, not only this of the fig tree will you do, but even if to this mountain you may say, Be lifted up and be cast into the sea, it will come to pass. And all things, whatever you will ask in prayer and believing, you will receive. And when he was come into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came to him as he was teaching and asked, By what authority are these things done? And who gave you this authority? Jesus answered and said to them, I also will ask you one thing, that if you will tell me, I then likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, from where was its source of origin? From the cosmos, or of men? And they reasoned with themselves, saying, If we will say, From the cosmos, he will say to us, Why did you not then believe him? But if we will say, Of men, we fear the people, for all hold John as a prophet. And they answered Jesus and said, We cannot tell you. And he replied to them, Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. But what do you think? A certain man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, Son, go to work today in my vineyard. He answered and replied, I will not, but afterward he changed his mind and went. And he came to the second and said the same thing. And he answered and said, I go, sir, but he went not. Which of those 2 did the will of his dad? They replied to him, The first. Jesus said to them, Of a truth I say to you, that the tax collectors and the prostitutes will go into the kingdom of Elohim before you. For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him, but the tax collectors and the prostitutes believed him, and you, when you had seen it, did not change your mind so as to believe him. Here, another parable. There was a certain house master that planted a vineyard and hedged it all around, and dug a winepress in it, and restored the fortification, and hired it over to farmers and went abroad, and when the seasonal time of its fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the farmers so that they might remove its fruits. And the farmers took his servants, beat one, killed another, and stoned another one. Again, he sent other servants more than the first, and they did to them the same things. But last of all he sent to them his son, saying, They will regard my son. But when the farmers saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir, come, let us kill him and take possession of his inheritance. And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. When the master therefore of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those farmers? They replied to him, He will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will hire out his vineyard to other farmers, that will render him its fruits in their seasons. Jesus said to them, Did you never read in the scriptures, the small stone, Urim Thummim, that the restorers rejected, this same, Urim Thummim, appears in history as the cornerstone of the secret place, or internal corner. This is YHWH coming on the stage of world history, and this is causing amazement joined with terror in our eyes? Therefore I say to you, the kingdom of Elohim will be raised from the ground and separated from you, and given to an association bearing fruits thereof. And he who is falling under judgment on this stone, Urim Thummim, shall be broken, and on whomsoever it may fall it will crush him to pieces. And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spoke of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the crowds, because they regarded him to be a prophet. And Jesus answered, speaking to them again by parables, and said, The kingdom of the cosmos is compared to a certain king who prepared a marriage festival for his son, and sent out his slaves to call them that were invited to the marriage festival, but they would not come. Again, he sent out other slaves, saying, Tell them that are invited, See, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fattened are killed, and all things are prepared, come now to the marriage festival. But they neglected it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his trade. And the remnant, having laid hold on his slaves, did insult and killed them. But when the king heard of it, he was provoked to anger, and he sent out his armies and devoted to destruction those murderers, and destroyed by fire their city. Then he said to his slaves, The marriage festival is at hand, but they that were invited were not worthy. Go therefore into the country highways, and as many as you will find, invite to the marriage festival. So those slaves went out into the country highways, and gathered together all as they could find, both bad and good, and the marriage festival was filled with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man that did not have on the proper wedding clothing, and he said to him, Comrade, how did you come in here, not having clothing of the marriage festival? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the slaves, Bind him hand and foot and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited to a banquet, but few are elected. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might ensnare him in his words. Then they sent to him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we have known that you are true, and the way of Elohim in truth you do teach, and you are not swayed by anyone, for you regard not the rank of men. Tell us therefore what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus perceived their depravity and said, Why test me, you hypocrites? Show me the tax money. And they brought to him a denarius. And he said to them, Whose is this image and superscription? They replied to him, Caesar's. Then he said to them, Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to Elohim the things that are Elohim's. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left him, and went their way. That same day the Sadducees came to him, that say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Teacher, Moses said, If a man dies, having no children, his brother will marry his woman, and raise up seed to his brother. Now there were with us 7 brothers, and the first, when he had married a woman, died, and having no offspring, left his woman to his brother, likewise the second also, and the third, unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman herself died too. Therefore in the resurrection whose woman will she be of the 7 brothers? Because they all had her. Jesus answered and said to them, You do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of Elohim. Because in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given away in marriage, but are as the angels of Elohim in the cosmos. But as concerning the resurrection from the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by YHWH, saying, I am YHWH, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? Elohim is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. And when the crowds heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them that was a lawyer asked him a question, testing him and saying, Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus replied to him, You will love YHWH alone with all your heart, and with all your person, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second resembles it, You will love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments suspend all the law and the prophets. While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them saying, What think you of Christ? Whose son is he? They replied to him, The son of David. He replied to them, How then does David in spirit call him Lord, saying, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool? If David then call him Lord, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word, neither did anyone from that day forward ask him any more questions. Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' chair. All therefore whatever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not after their employment, for they say but do not perform. For they bind heavy burdens and hard to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their employment they do for to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries, pieces of parchment containing sentences of the law, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at the formal meal, and the chief chairs in the synagogues, and salutations in the marketplaces, and to be called of man Rabbi, but be you not called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, even Christ, and all you are brothers. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, that is in the cosmos. Neither be called teachers, for one is your teacher, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you will be your slave. And whoever will exalt himself will be abased, and he that will humble himself will be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of the cosmos against men, for you neither go in yourselves nor allow those who would enter the kingdom to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers, therefore you will receive the supreme judgment. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you compass sea and land to make one a proselyte, and when he is made, you make him a subject for Gehenna twice as much so as yourselves. Woe to you, you blind guides that say, Whoever will swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whoever will swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. You fools and blinded, for what is greater, the gold, or the temple that consecrates the gold? And, whoever will adjure by the altar, it is nothing, but whoever adjures by the gift that is upon it, he is a debtor. You fools and blinded, for what is greater, the gift, or the altar that consecrates the gift? Whoever therefore will adjure by the altar, adjures by it, and by all things thereon. And whoever will adjure by the temple, adjures by it, and by him that dwells therein. And he that will adjure by the cosmos, adjures by the throne of Elohim, and by him that sits thereon. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithes of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These should you to have done, and not to leave the other undone. You blind guides that strain at a gnat, and swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. You blind Pharisee, cleanse first what is within the cup and platter, so that the outside of them may be clean too. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like unto whitewashed graves that indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Even so you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! Because you build the tombs of the prophets, and garnish the graves of the righteous, and say, If we had been in the days of our forefathers, we would not have been partakers with them, in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore you are witnesses to yourselves, that you were the children of them that killed the prophets. Make full then yourselves the measure of your forefathers. You snakes, you generation of vipers, how can you escape the judgment of Gehenna? Therefore, look, I dismiss from the appointed place to you prophets, and wise men, and scribes, and some of them you will kill and crucify, stake, and some of them will you scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zacharias son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Of a truth I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that killed the prophets, and stoned them that are sent to you, how often would I have gathered your children together, even as a bird gathers her brood under her wings, but you would not. Look, your house is left to you uninhabited. For I say to you, you will not see me again until you will say, Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. Jesus went out and departed from the sacred place, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the sacred place. And Jesus said to them, See not all these things? Of a truth I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your presence, and of the end of the age? Jesus answered and said to them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many will come in my name saying, I am Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, plagues, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then will they deliver you up to be oppressed, and will kill you, and you will be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then will many be offended, and will deliver up one another, and will hate one another. And many false prophets will arise, and will deceive many. And because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he that will endure to the end, the same will be kept safe. And this good news of the kingdom will be heralded in all the world for a witness to all nations, and then will the end come. So when you therefore will see the foul thing of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the sacred place, whoever reads this, let him understand. Then let them that are in Judea flee to the mountains, let him that is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him that is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to them that are pregnant, and to them that suckle in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, because then will be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the cosmos to this time, no, nor will occur again. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved alive, but for the elect's sake those days will be shortened. Then if anyone will say to you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there will arise false Christs, and false prophets, and will show great signs and wonders, so that, if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect. Look, I have told you before. If they will say to you, Behold he is in the uninhabited place, go not out, behold he is in the resting room, believe it not. For as the lightning comes out of the east, and shines to the west, so will also the presence of the Son of Man be. Because wherever the carcass is, there will the eagles be, gathered together. Immediately after the oppression of those days the sun will be covered with darkness, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will diminish from the sky and the powers of the cosmos will become stormy, and then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in the sky, and then will all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming in the cloud mass of the sky with power and great brightness. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four violent winds, from one end of the skies to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When its branch is still tender and puts out leaves, you know that summer is near, so also when you will see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doorway. Of a truth I say to you, this generation will not pass until all these things have appeared in history. The cosmos and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels of the cosmos, but my Father alone. But as the days of Noah had been, so will also the presence of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving away in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark vessel, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so will also the presence of the Son of Man be. Then will two be in the field, the one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill house, the one will be taken and the other left. Watch accordingly, for you know not what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be rummaged through. Therefore be you also ready, for in such an hour as you have not accounted for, the Son of Man arrives. Who then is a faithful and wise slave, whom his Lord has made ruler over his household, to give them food in due measure? Blessed is that slave, whom his Lord when he arrives, will find so doing. Of a truth I say to you, that he will appoint him as an administrator over all his property. But if however that bad slave will say in his heart, My master is delaying, and will begin to beat his fellow slaves and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that slave will come in a day when he does not look for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of. And will cut him in two and set his lot with the hypocrites. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then will the kingdom of the cosmos be compared to 10 virgins that took their lamps, and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom arrives, Go out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered saying, No way, unless there is not enough for us and you, but go rather to those that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage festival, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Of a truth I say to you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour when the Son of Man arrives. For the kingdom of the cosmos is like a man traveling into a far country, who called his own slaves, and delivered to them his property. And to one he gave 5 talents, over $5,000, to another 2, and to another 1, to everyone according to their own ability, and immediately took his journey. Then the one that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made of them an additional 5 talents. And likewise they that had received 2, they also gained another 2. But they that had received 1 went and spaded in the earth, and hid his Lord's money. Then after a long time the Lord of those slaves arrived and settled accounts with them. And so the one that had received 5 talents came and brought another 5 talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents, see, I have gained beside these another 5 talents. His Lord replied to that one, Well done, you good and faithful slave, you have been faithful over a few things, I will make you ruler over many things, enter you into the joy of your Lord. The one also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents, see, I have gained another 2 talents beside these. His Lord replied to him, Well done, good and faithful slave, you have been faithful over a few things, I will make you ruler over many things, enter you into the joy of your Lord. Then the one that had received the single talent came and said, Lord, I knew that you are a stern man, harvesting where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not winnowed, and I was afraid, so went and hid your talent in the ground. See, there you have what is yours. His Lord answered and said to him, You wicked and backward slave, you knew that I reap where I sowed not, and gathered where I have not winnowed, you should have therefore put my money in the bank, and then at my arrival I could have received my own with interest accumulated. Take therefore that talent from him and give it to him that has 10 talents. For to every one that has will be given, and he will have abundance, but from him that has not will be taken away even what he has. And cast out the good-for-nothing slave into outer darkness, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When the Son of Man will arrive in his judgment, and all the holy angels with him, then will he sit upon his glorious throne, and before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats, and he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then will the king say to them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the founding of the cosmos. Because I was hungry and you gave me food, I was thirsty and you gave me drink, I was a foreigner and you took me in, naked and you clothed me, I was sick and you visited me, I was in prison and you came to me. Then will the righteous answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and fed you? Or thirsty and gave you drink? When did we see you a foreigner and took you in? Or naked and clothed you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison, and came to you? Then the king will answer and say to them, Of a truth I say to you, inasmuch as you have done it to one of the least of these my associates, you have done it to me. Then will he say also to them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into age-lasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels, for I was hungry and you gave me no food, I was thirsty and you gave me no drink, I was a foreigner and you took me not in, naked, and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison and you did not visit me. Then will they also answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry or athirst, or a foreigner, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not attend to you? Then will he answer them saying, Of a truth I say to you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these will depart to an age-lasting cutting off, but the righteous into age-lasting life. When Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said to his disciples, You know that after 2 days is the festival of Passover, and the Son of Man is judged to be crucified, staked. Then assembled together the chief priests, and the scribes, and the elders of the people to the courts of the temple of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus craftily and kill him. But they said, Not on the festival day, unless there is an uproar among the people. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came to him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at dinner. But when his disciples saw it they were very displeased, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for a large amount and given to the poor. When Jesus perceived this he said to them, Why trouble you the woman? Because she has performed a good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you will not always have. For in that she has poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Of a truth I say to you, wherever this good news will be heralded in the whole cosmos, there will also that this woman has done, be told for a memorial of her. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests, and said to them, What will you give me, and then I will hand him over to you? And they weighed out to him 30 pieces of silver. And from that time he looked for an opportunity to betray him. Now the first day of the festival of unleavened bread the disciples came to Jesus saying to him, Where are we to make ready for you to take the Passover? He replied, Go into the city to such a man and say to him, The teacher says, My time is at hand, I will observe the Passover at your house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when sunset came, he sat down with the 12. And as they ate he said, Of a truth I say to you, that one of you will betray me. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say to him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, that betrayed him, answered and said, My great one, is it me? He replied to him, You have said. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it, and gave it to the disciples and spoke, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks, and gave it to them saying, Drink all of it, for this is my righteous blood of the New Testament that is shed for many for the pardoning of sins. But I say to you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on, until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung praises, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, All of you will be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered abroad. But after I am resurrected, I will go before you into Galilee. Peter answered and said to him, Though all men would be offended because of you, still will I never be offended. Jesus replied to him, Of a truth I say to you, that this night, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said to him, Though I should die with you, still will I not deny you. Likewise also said all the disciples. Then comes Jesus with them to a place called Gethsemane, and said to the disciples, You sit here while I go and pray over there. He took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and greatly distressed. Then he said to them, My life is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death, remain you here and watch with me. And he went a little further and fell on his face, and prayed saying, O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, nevertheless not as I will, but as you will. And he comes to the disciples and finds them asleep, and says to Peter, What, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that you enter not into trial, the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the second time and prayed saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, your will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away again, and prayed the 3rd time saying the same words. Then he comes to his disciples and says to them, Sleep on now and take your rest. Lo, the hour is at hand and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going, look, he is at hand that does betray me. And while he still spoke, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a large crowd with swords and cudgels, from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign saying, The one I will kiss, that same is he, hold him fast. And immediately he came to Jesus and said, Rejoice, my great one, and kissed him. And Jesus said to him, Friend, do that for which you have come? Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them that were with Jesus stretched out his hand, and drew his sword, and struck a slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. Then said Jesus to him, Put up again your sword into its place, for all they that take the sword will perish with the sword. Do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then will the scriptures be fulfilled, that thus it must be? In that same hour Jesus said to the crowds, Are you come out as against a thief with swords and cudgels to seize me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and you did not lay hold on me. But all this was done, that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples separated from him and fled. And they that had laid hold on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him from a distance to the high priest's court of the temple and went in, and sat with the slaves, to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders, and all the council, sought false witness against Jesus, to put him to death, but found none. Yes, though many false witnesses came, still they found none. At last though 2 false witnesses came in and said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of Elohim, and to rebuild it in 3 days. And the chief priest having stood up, said to him, Nothing do you answer. What do these witness against you? But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said to him, I adjure you by the living Elohim, that you tell us whether you are the Christ, the Son of Elohim. Jesus replied to him, You have said it, nevertheless I say to you, hereafter will you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the cloud mass of the sky. Then the high priest tore his clothes, saying, He has spoken blasphemy, what further need have we of witnesses? Look, now you have heard his blasphemy. What do you think? They answered and said, He is guilty of death. Then they did spit in his face and struck him with their fists, and others hit him with the palms of their hands, saying, Prophesy to us, you Christ, who is he that hit you? Now Peter sat outside in the temple courtyard, and a young girl came to him saying, You also were with Jesus from Galilee. But he denied before them all, saying, I do not know what you are talking about. And when he was gone out into the porch, another saw him and said to them that were there, This fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth. And again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man. And after a while came others to him that stood outside and said to Peter, Certainly you also are one of them, because your speech gives you away. Then he began to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crowed. Then Peter remembered the words of Jesus that said to him, Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. And he went out and wept bitterly. When the morning had come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death, and when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate the governor. Then Judas, that had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? That is your problem. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, It is not lawful to put them into the treasury, because it is blood money. And they took counsel, and bought with them the potter's field, to bury foreigners in. Therefore that field was called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did price, and gave them for the potter's field, as YHWH appointed me. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus replied to him, You say it. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then Pilate said to him, Do you not hear how many things they witness against you? And he answered him not a word, so that the governor wondered greatly. Now at that festival it was the governor's custom to release to the people a prisoner whom they would desire. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, Who will you choose that I would release to you? Barabbas, or Jesus that is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was seated on the tribune of judgment, his woman sent to him, saying, Have yourself nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have undergone many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the crowds that they should ask Barabbas, and kill Jesus. The governor answered and said to them, Which of the 2 will you have me release to you? They replied, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, What would I do then with Jesus that is called Christ? They all replied to him, Let him be crucified, staked. But the governor replied, Why, what bad has he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified, staked. When Pilate saw that he could not prevail, but that rather a riot was being created, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this righteous person, so you see to it. Then answered all the people and said, His blood is on us and on our children. Then he released Barabbas to them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified, staked. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the headquarters, and gathered to him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him, and put on him a scarlet cloak. And when they had woven together a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, Rejoice, King of the Jews. And they spit on him and took the reed, and hit him on the head. And after they had mocked him, they took the cloak off from him, and put his own clothing on him, and led him away to be crucified, staked. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name, him they compelled to bear his stake. And having come to a place called Golgotha, that is called the place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mixed with bile, and when he had tasted it, he would not drink. And they crucified, staked him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by the prophet, They parted my garments among them, and upon my clothing they did cast lots. And sitting down they watched him there, and set up over his head his accusation written, "This is Jesus the King of the Jews." Then were there two thieves crucified, staked, with him, one on the right hand, and another on the left. And they that passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying, "You that destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of Alone, come down from the stake." Likewise also the chief priests mocking him, with the scribes and elders said, "He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him now come down from the upright stake and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim, let him deliver him now, if he will have him, because he said, I am Elohim's son." The thieves also that were crucified, staked, with him, reproached him the same. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land to the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried with a loud voice saying, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani?" That is to say, my Elohim, why have you totally abandoned me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that said, "This man calls for Elijah." And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar, and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, "Let him alone to see whether Elijah will come to save him." Jesus, when he had cried harshly again with a loud voice, expired his last breath. And behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks split, and the grave tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints that had died were raised up, and came out of the grave tombs after his being raised up, entered into the holy city, and they became visible to many. Now when the centurion, and they that were with him watching Jesus, saw the earthquake, and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, Truly this was Elohim's son. And many women were there as eyewitnesses from a distance, that had followed Jesus from Galilee, attending to him. Among them was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's children. When sunset had come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, that he had cut out in the rock, and he rolled a great stone to the door of the tomb and departed. And there was Mary Magdalene, and the other Mary, sitting over against the tomb. Now the next day, that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together to Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver had said while he was still alive, After 3 days I will rise again. Command therefore that the tomb is made secure until the 3rd day, unless his disciples come by night, and steal him away, and say to the people, He is risen from the dead, so that the last error will be worse than the first. Pilate replied to them, You have a guard of soldiers, go your way, make it as secure as you can. So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting a guard. And on the eve of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the 1st day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of YHWH descended from the cosmos, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His external appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. And for terror of him the guards did tremble, and became paralyzed. And the angel answered and said to the women, Fear you not, because I know that you seek Jesus that was crucified, staked. He is not here, because he is risen as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord had lain. Now go quickly and tell his disciples that he is resurrected from the dead, and look, he goes before you into Galilee, there you will see him. Lo, I have told you. And they left quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, May Elohim deliver you. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, Be not afraid, go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there they will see me. Now when they were going, behold, some of the guard came into the city and reported to the chief priests all the things that were done. And when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large sums of money to the soldiers, saying, You say, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. And if this comes to the governor's ears, we will persuade him, and keep you from trouble. So they took the money and did as they were instructed, and this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Jesus had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, All authority has been given to me in the cosmos and on the earth. When you go forth in the way, make disciples of people of all the nations in my name, teaching them to observe all things whatever I have commanded you. And, look, I am with you all the days until the conclusion of this age.